So, what is it about a book that makes it so difficult to achieve? Right? Think about it. 81% of North Americans say they have a book inside of them, but only 3% ever finish a manuscript. And of that 3%, only a fraction of that, 30% of those 3% will actually hit publish. So there's a small number of people publishing books. And though it's something we're all trained to do in school, write books, write in general, maybe not books, but writing, and we get stuck. We get stuck in this idea of we're supposed to be doing something. But writing a book isn't an act for school. It can be. It can be academic in nature, but think about it. Do you read academic books on your free time? Maybe you do. Maybe you're an academic. But if you're not an academic, do you pick up books, textbooks, and read them? Or scholarly texts? More than likely, no. So we have to put out our mind that schools in any way, shape, or form prepared us to be authors. In fact, we have to realize that schools led us to be more resident to be experts, to be authors. We were given the charge of being editors. Here's the text you need to work with. Here's the prompt. Here's the assignment. Here's the challenges. And you need to go write it and turn it in. That's a writing assignment given to you by someone else. But when it comes to you and you get to write whatever you want, that's where people get stuck. Not because they don't have great ideas, definitely not because they're not great writers, but more importantly, because they never gave themselves an opportunity to even imagine what it would be like to be a writer. So I'm going to address one of the biggest questions I get and share something really important at the end that I'm going to give away to you for being a listener. And it's a secret podcast that's not here, that isn't this. It's even a more nuanced podcast about writing a book. We'll get to that in a minute. But I want to address the number one fear that I cover often, and I've talked about even before in this podcast recently, is this idea of I don't know where to start. That's just a really simple way of saying, I don't know if I have what it takes. Or, yeah, I don't know if I know how to write a book. That's not true. Book has a beginning, middle, and end. There's pages, there's words. You know what a book is. So knowing where to start is kind of illogical. You know that starting is what you need, words. Most people worry about, do I write this in order? Do I start with chapter 1? Do I start the introduction? I've met people who've been on the introduction for years. It's not about all those things. It's about overcoming the belief that writing a book isn't for you, that it's for those people, those other people. Now, whether you're smart or think yourself as smart, educated or not, those aren't the things that keep you from writing books or even getting book deals. What keeps you from writing a book is the beliefs you hold on to. And I want you to challenge your beliefs that I'm not good at writing or I don't know if I could actually do it, because that's what really happened to me. I started living in between my ears, which means in my mind, when I started thinking about writing a book. How do you write a book if you know nothing about writing a book? Well, that's really easy. You read books. If you don't like to read books and you want to write one, then I would challenge you to go read some books. Maybe that will give you confidence to see, oh, books are just stories. Books are just words one after the other, just completing a thought. So maybe the bigger question is, what if I don't have something to say that people care about? Yep, it's another thing that keeps people from starting. The idea of having something to say is probably not true. You have plenty to say, or you wouldn't consider writing a book. That isn't the challenge either. It's the belief that what you say won't matter, or that no one will care as much as you, or that worse off, no one will even read it at all. But those aren't reasons not to start. Those are just excuses. Those are just beliefs that you're holding on to. Because I held on to them tightly for 24 years, talking about writing a book, wanting to write a book, believing I could write a book, but then quickly backing away when I got close to the time to start. Because of these fears, I don't know what I'm doing. And maybe that's true. Maybe you don't totally know what to do. But that's not an expensive problem to solve. You could check out a book at a library for free. You could buy a book online. You could watch the YouTube videos. You can listen to this podcast. Those are all ways to start. And if you're listening at all, that means you're probably primed and ready to start this book or the next book you're going to write, or maybe a new genre that you haven't even thought about. Those things are super important because those nuances, those desires, those things you think about spark something in you. It's like a seed. When you plant a seed, not every seed you plant grows. Sometimes they get eaten by birds. Sometimes the seed was damaged. Sometimes it doesn't get water. Sometimes it's too deep, too shallow, whatever it is. But seeds are the way that all trees or plants begin, right? With something small for the most part. Yes, I know there are plants that grow from other plant like banana trees, but I'm talking in general that it starts off really small. So maybe your first small step is just write what's in your heart. What's going on? What do you really want to write about? Tell us why you want to write about it. Write about it in a way that helps explain to yourself why you're committed to this. Because having a deep desire for why can help initiate and move over the fear of starting. But if your why is weak, if you're just not certain, then you will give up when it gets hard. And it's been hard ever since you started thinking about writing a book because you haven't started, right? The hard part is, where do I start? The why is really important too. Why am I doing this? Well, because I want to change my career, or I really want to tell the story. Um, it could be something as small as I want to honor this legacy in my family, or I want to talk about all the things I've been through to help somebody else. They don't have to be big, but your why has to matter to you. Has to matter to you in a way that goes beyond what books could earn you. When people tell me, I just want to sell a million copies of my book and be a New York Times bestseller, that's not going to motivate you enough because you can't promise, you can't control whether or not that happens. So it's outside of your control. You're picking a why that you have no control over. But you can have a control over your desire to make an impact. You can have a an impact on the way you show up in the world, but you can't change the impact or the effects of something out of your control. So don't think about it. Don't even entertain what it could be, right? Write the best book you can for now. And more than likely, if you want to be a writer, you probably have more than one book in you. And that's another challenge people have is I don't know what idea to pick. And my thinking is what I tell my coaching clients is the one that gets your attention, that's the one you write. And they'll say, well, I like them all. I'm like, oh, no. I didn't say which one you like. That's different. Which one gets you the attention? If you put 3 ideas down and say, pick one, which one gets your attention? And it's not fair saying, oh, I just can't pick. That's just you refusing to make a choice because you're afraid to make the wrong one. So that doesn't count. You must pick. If you're like, well, I still don't know, then turn the cards over and pick one. Shuffle them. If it's equally, they're all equal, why does it matter which one you pick? But more than likely, you're just stalling to avoid starting. So all these things can be addressed. All the things that writers end up having, writer's block, are not real. They're contrived and created within you to elicit some sort of response. And the response might be, don't write that, it's dangerous. You might be thrown out of the tribe, or your friends might not like you, your family will hate you. So we back away from it. So most of my work isn't teaching people how to write, though we do teach in Authors Who Lead community how to write books, how to publish them, how to get them marketed, how to build a brand upon them, build courses. We teach those things. But that's not what's keeping people from writing. It's these other beliefs. So here, I'm going to tell you about the something special I was going to tell you about. I've been coaching writers for about a decade, and most of them need this sort of advice that I'm giving you here. But I created a secret podcast that's more like me as your personal coach called Born to Write, Scared to Start. And if you're listening to this podcast and you've been listening to me for a while, thank you so much. If you're new to this podcast and you're giving me a shot, thank you. But if you've been wanting to write a book but not know where to start, this is the place to start. Not only here at the Authors Who Lead podcast, but at this Born to Write, Scared to Start podcast. There'll be a link in the show notes where you can go. And if you get that link, it's meant for you. You can't search Born to Write, Scared to Start in any podcast player because it's not out there. It's really meant for people who really want to do this. It is a coaching program. It's an audio version of that, where for 11 episodes, I coach you through the fears that I normally coach my authors and give you challenges and steps to take. And if you're really serious about it, you're either going to join a program or you're going to get a book or you're going to get over these things that are keeping you from writing, because it isn't not knowing how to write. Maybe you are illiterate, but then maybe the first step would be to learn to write. But more importantly, maybe it's just to learn to speak into a voice recorder. Your ideas are more important than your ability to put one word after the other. So nothing should be off limits. If this is what you really want, and that's what you got to ask yourself, do I really want to be a writer? Do I really want to publish a book? Because if the answer is no, then there's no need to keep listening. You don't benefit by hearing these things and then not doing anything unless it's entertaining. But if you're here, I'm hoping you want to write a book. I've had lots of my listeners on my shows eventually because they did write a book and they became guests on the show. Um, and you can also join the Authors Who Lead community, which is a great community where we have authors just like you join us. But that's only $90 for 90 days. And it's the entry point for people to get coaching and support about the how-tos of writing. But if you want to get over the how do I start, Born to Write podcast is for you. The link will be in the show notes. I really think it'll be helpful for you. I want to inspire you to take action, not only to cover these issues like I don't know where to start, or I'm not a real writer, or I have all these ideas, or what if no one cares? Those kinds of things. I address all those issues and give you actionable steps to take. So I hope you will download that. You'll listen to it. Let me know what you think. You can always send me an email at azul@authors-who-lead. I always love when people tell me how they're doing with their books. But just don't stop. Just don't wait. Just don't wonder about it. I spent way too many years not taking an action when I could have, in fact, been writing all along. And I want you to write your book. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope this inspires you to take an action and to download the Born to Write podcast from wherever you're listening to this on. It'll be in the show notes. And let me know what you think. Does it boost your morale? Does it get you writing after all? I'd love to hear things like that. Until next time, I'm Azul Terronez, and I'll see you on the other side.